kallar dem för IV3-erna, de kommer samlas allihopa på samma ställe och vi kan jobba vidare med prissättning.
Thank you for inviting us, first of all. So my name is Veera. I work at SOLIBRI as Area Sales Manager, and I will have shared presentation with my colleague Pia Nitz. And my responsibility area at SOLIBRI is partner management and sales in Nordic countries and Baltic region. I started at SOLIBRI this August, so I'm relatively new at SOLIBRI. Here is the content of the presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about our new product portfolio that we launched in May this year. And then my colleague Pia is going to tell about workflow of today, some upcoming benefits, and some future workflow matters, and of course some SOLIBRI specific weather forecast. And then in the end, a really interesting use case about e-permitting. So we have a headquarters in Helsinki, but we are kind of spread all around because of our partner network and customers. So we are about in 70 countries nowadays, and kind of top of quality assurance and quality control in BIM-based, open BIM-based design. And yeah, this is about the new product portfolio. Somebody of you might be familiar with the older or former names. Nowadays, the viewer is called SOLIBRI Anywhere. So that's the kind of free version of SOLIBRI that you can view models. And I'm going to talk a bit specific details about this later. And we invented kind of the new product, SOLIBRI Site, for construction users, so that it's easy to do some classifications and information takeoffs. SOLIBRI Office is the former SOLIBRI model checker. And then is the enterprise version that we have for kind of bigger customers that Sweco and Skanska are representing here. This is kind of, I'm not sure if you can see that they're really behind in the row, but this is kind of feature comparison about all the features and products. This Anywhere is really for free for everyone to use. And sometimes we have even questions that, is it okay to use it for business purpose? Of course, it is of course allowed, and some companies, they have some versions like Office, and they like to combine it with Anywhere use, and that's of course allowed. Anywhere has a new feature which is combining multiple EFCs, and it's nowadays also available as an offline version, so just to be aware of that. The site is then kind of the main features there, I would say, is the creating classifications and taking off quantities. Office is kind of the whole package, and you can have, of course, above the site, you can have this checking of models and creating of your own rules. And here we were talking earlier in an earlier presentation about Autorun, and this is also available nowadays to combine with the Office license. So if you are interested in Autorun, so please contact us or Nolliplan, which is our partner in Sweden. So they will help you. And enterprise level, it's this kind of, you get Autorun for free, and there is also some other things that is kind of open for you. But okay, brief comparison about Anywhere site and Office. So the main thing with Anywhere is the weaving of models. Site is basically, I'm probably repeating myself a little bit, but you can classify and make this information takeoff. Not only there can be, let's say, lengths, dimensions, you name it, many different cases that you can take off information straight to the Excel file. SOLIBRI Office, there you can check and validate and report data and information. And basically this launch of the new product family was made to make it easy that everyone in a construction project can have the data shared together, and so to be able to kind of support the digital BIM workflow. And here you can see that we are kind of making it easy to you to see which are the use cases or who are the users of SOLIBRI. So we see that very good benefit is for the designers or BIM coordinators or even people in construction. Really briefly, I will go through what are the benefits for a BIM coordinator. You can find issues early on, so that we have kind of a flying phrase in the office that it's really much easier to click on a mouse than remove a brick on a construction site. And of course, it's much more cost effective in that way as well. You can coordinate and communicate easily with your colleagues. No more silos in that. You can simplify and automate processes. If you're a designer, you're probably really keen on correcting prior to delivery. You don't like mistakes. No one really likes mistakes. You want to check against requirements, and that's available. You can align with other disciplines as well. And if you work with construction, the better data is for better builds, of course. And you want to minimize errors beforehand. You can take off more than just quantities and communicate with the whole design team. So from the early phase of the project to the end of the project. And I think this was it. I will give next room for Pia.
Okay, thank you, Veera. My name is Pia, and my role in SOLIBRI is customer training and consulting. And I will be talking to you about what we are now and what we are going to be in the future, and some little hints what you might find in the future. So we all know what the existing workflow is. How many of you has been working with SOLIBRI more than 5 years? Okay, few. More than 8 years. Basically, nothing has changed. We are still in the same situation. We have the IFC, but we are very static. We have local installation on the software. We have IFC format that we deliver manually. We download it somewhere from the storages and work with that. So we are very manual. CDE is only for the BCF communication at the moment. So again, pretty much manual delivery, press the button, process and get the feedback back. And all the common storages, most of them are built with the gates. You have a passwords. So again, you have a restrictions how to enter into this storage. So keeping that in mind, we will see some of the new things that are coming and what's the benefit for you. We are stabilizing the software in general. We are making a constant development. Deployment is constant. So you can see more releases, but we are fixing the bugs. We are implementing new things. We are implementing IFC4 constantly until there is a day when we can get the certification for it. We are also improving the performance. So opening and saving the models will be faster and more efficient. So we wouldn't have that problem as we have now, that you save, you shut the software, and your model is gone. So faster and more convenient workflow. And also we are looking forward to see ways of sharing the project, doing a teamwork, getting more constant workflow with other stakeholders. So we're coming to the customizing the software and automating the process. It means that we are already delivered rule API, which is in beta process. We are opening up the ITO API as well. It's coming. And also you can manage your hyperlinks and that yourself. A little bit later, after the ITO API has been opened, we will deliver a general purpose API for the functionalities. So you will be able to customize your own work environment even more than you can do now. So we will deliver a development kit for all these purposes. We will also be more data-driven. You will be able to get more data from the users, the user base, of course, and how the model is developing. Business intelligence, as we spoke already here. So all that will be shown to you as well. What more? Extension ecosystem. We are building up new ecosystems so you can easily get into the point where you can quickly update, fix your extensions, manage them, and distribute them as you want. So more usability in the SSC and easier ways to deliver the information and get even more business opportunities by creating new extensions. Usability. We are constantly developing Solution Center. We are trying to make it more and more fluent to administrate the license handling, extensions, and getting the reports for your own data needs. Also, we are trying to fix certain features so that it will be more fluent and easy to adapt the BIM for those who have been working with the 2D. Easy use, easy to take it into use. The first steps will be with no thresholds, hopefully. And we are also having a studies done. There's a research going on how to convert the point clouds into the SOLIBRI environment. That's a challenge, but it's definitely there, and we have been testing it. And then design. And now, what we have heard already today, we have the integrations coming with the other software, the authoring tool. As you probably saw, the SOLIBRI communication with the ARCHICAD, or as it does actually work. That is one example of the tools that we are going to have. We are going for the sister brands in Nemetschek group first and looking for the synergies with them. And then we will go further in other solutions. With all that, we are trying to build, and we are actually focusing, not just trying, to get into more coordinated work with the integrations of SOLIBRI desktop, so that we have the APIs, we have open discussion with the different data storages, we have the CDE communication, more fluent, and the information exchange doesn't stay only on the issue level, so more constant cooperation between all the stakeholders. So, in the future, the workflow will look a bit more like that. We have the authoring tools, then we have the CDE, and we have the SOLIBRI, and we can utilize all the data, the tools with the API, and the extensions, and communicate throughout the data storage. So we are not anymore focusing only the BCF. So the work will go constantly back and forth between the authoring tools. One source, but we still have the platform for SOLIBRI only on desktop. That's for now. What we would like to have that wheel turning constantly and have the rotation going on in the project. Now we just have to launch it, but we will be having more close to live situations. So all that will bring us into the future forecast. You have been waiting for the information that what happens next and what happens next. These are the steps that we are planning and doing now. So that things will happen bit by bit, and you will get delivered in smaller pieces. But in the future, we are going to definitely to the cloud. So we are having a hybrid version. So the architectural model, all the data will be stored in the cloud, the servers, and you have the resources there as well. So you will have the model data that you need for SOLIBRI use in there. You have the CDE communication throughout. And then we will have a SOLIBRI working through that cloud. But what it means when we call it a hybrid, we need still the basic desktop for managing the resources, delivering the resources to the model, creating the extensions, and also managing the roles in that project. And that's why we call it a hybrid model. We are looking for different possibilities to how to make it as fluent as possible. And the common question, I know that you will have it as well, when do we go mobile? Probably somewhere in the future, but after this all has been done. This is very common question that I meet every time I visit the customer, or even in a support table we have this very commonly. So that's what's coming from for you. More fluent work, but bit by bit. We can't make miracles in one night, but it's definitely going towards the cloud. When you think of all that development that is going on and how our tools are going rapidly forward, we have to also develop our environment. This is my so-called love child. I've been working with this project quite a long time, so I'm going to do a short introduction of a permitting project in Finland. It was the national development project funded by Environmental Ministry of Finland, but we managed to do something pretty nice there as well. So our goal, the big vision, was when we started this, that okay, we will have one slot somewhere in the cloud, and I will throw the architectural model there, and somebody will chew it, and at the end, ka-ching, there will be permission granted, and it's like 500 euros. Thank you for having us. That was the vision. But there is so many other things that we need to discuss as well. So we wanted to create the platform, where common platform for all the participants that are involved in our environment. So it's us, the common people. There's the authorities, there is the designers, there is the services, and of course the one who owns the building. We wanted to also have transparency and equality, so that we create a system and a process that is common for all the Finnish people. Wherever you go, the basic rules will be the same. Decision making will follow the same process. Sounds very idealistic, but that's what we are aiming. And by that, we will also achieve faster, more efficient, and cheaper permission granting process. Also, the supervising will be more efficient when everything is handled in one place and stored in one place. Design documentation will be handled in one location, and it will serve after the granting has happened. So it will serve also the maintenance, also the repairs and reconstructions, and the facility management. And remember, we have the IFC, and we have all the different disciplines included in the same storage. We will have it all, not just the PDFs. And last but not least, was that we made an initiative for the Finnish Environmental Ministry to approve the IFC as a formal format for archiving. And we are hoping to get this decision made in 2020. So what happens in the permitting process? We have a platform called Lupapiste, and when we establish the project in Lupapiste, we know who is the BIM coordinator, we require that information, and we name also the main designer and the other designers. We have the contact list first, and we have the number for the project. Designers, they start to do their work, and we are talking about only in this stage architecture. They will do their work, and what is delivered in the first phase is basically building envelope, windows, doors, recesses, and roofs, plus all those materials that are reflective to any sunlight or light disturbance in the environment. That requires then all the balconies and the glasses on that as well. So that's the detail level in the first phase. I will show you why in a little bit. Designer is obligated to do this. It's basically a mandatory self-check. They will check the IFC, deliver the report and the IFC into Lupapiste. Main drawings in PDF format plus the IFC. Then we will call out all the important people who are deciding what is happening here. And they will see this first stage IFC imported into a digital city plan. We are inviting all the authorities, services, but also the neighborhood. And we are having a common meeting. And we are showing them that what is happening, this is going to be built here. What do you think? We will collect the comments. We will send it back to the designer if needed. And finally, when all is checked, run through the SOLIBRI, we have the clean report, we can grant the permission. Then comes the archiving, which is still open. And the whole process is basically done, so we can turn into the production and get to the construction site. All the documentation will be filled during the process if needed, if any special needs are coming. Of course, first we have the architecture, then comes the structural design, then comes the MEP, and we will fill in the information. And if you are a user here, and you have the rights to enter to the Lupapiste, you will have this kind of view. This is the basic information of the project. But as you can see here, we have these tabs here. It's full of information. And all those who have rights has the right to read the material. It's public information. And when we are invited to review whole design, user like you and William or any of you will get the invitation, and you can enter here and you can see that, okay, they are going to build this office there. You can comment it, you can leave the comments, and they are public comments and they will be commonly reviewed together. Even when we are building bigger areas for residential areas, planning city plans, they are public. We can all review that. In the old process, all these reviews usually takes 3 months to 6 months, depending on what is the scale of the project and how much is it involving people. So there's a fire department, there's security network services, there is the neighborhood, and then there's the authorities. Every single one was in one meeting and checking the papers, the PDFs, they printed them out and they made the markings and then they wrote the report. Not accepted. Now they can all gather around in one table and do the review there. We actually managed to cut more than 3 months from the reviewing period off with this way of reviewing the plans. And even if you have the little house somewhere that you want to build, you can review your own home. So the scale is from the malls to the private houses. It's public. So when it comes to SOLIBRI in this whole process, we know that it's not fully automated. So it's not that I just throw out the IFC and something happens, magic happens there, and then you get the check and thank you. We have tools. We have the digital documentation, which is normal. But what we did in SOLIBRI, we are checking very basic things, basically. These are familiar for every one of you. Floor areas, apartment areas, cross areas throughout the building. But then, not just simple collisions, but intersections between different disciplines, free spaces, secure areas to maneuver. And we also have the ITO that produces the registry data for apartments. So when you have all the naming all the codes for the apartment and the spaces inside that apartment, they are correct. And I'm coming to an important thing that you discussed about the organized work, is that this information has to be in certain order, mentioned in certain way. There is a standard for it, and we are trying to follow it. So, when this data is correct, we can report in Excel, drop it into the Lupapiste, which will fill in automatically this registry information for the officials. So you will get, if you're a salesman selling the apartments or renting them, you will have the register automatically. That's one thing. But we are also concerned about the safety issues, of course, fire safety. And now we are getting into the areas where the details, the level of details was an obstacle. It was considered too much to be filling in the fire rating, sound absorbance rating, and thermal rating for walls and slabs. So that was a big problem. The second problem was how to follow the standard and how to get a naming convention working so that everybody would have the result as we wanted. Thank you. That was kind. So we wanted to check also the usability and safety, all the railings and ramps and stairs, even outside the building, and the accessibility in general. So not just see that the building looks good and cool, but going into actually the regulatory information that is mentioned in law. Then we bumped into a big obstacle with the structure, and especially the MEP. I went to the city office where they were supposed to define all those details to parameterize SOLIBRI so that we can define the rules for MEP checking for the permission. The answer was that just do it according to regulations. What does it mean? Give me the metrics. I need numbers. Just do it according to regulations. Well, the regulations are not our specialty. We needed someone to say how to do it. But all of a sudden, nobody could give us the information. The problem was that I'm trying to be diplomatic here. The people working in the office were rather old. They are not BIM mature. They didn't understand what I was asking for. So I had to take new engineers, the students from the university, to interpret all that and collect this information. And we are still working on that. So it's a bit of a struggle there. So many variations and so many interpretations throughout the country, and even the pilot projects, we had similar problems throughout the whole project. So what's there in somewhere in the gray area, what we would like to do, it's just not that stable how to do it, who would do it, how much do we want to do it. It's first is the energy efficiency simulations. That would be very useful information. Again, another obstacle. How to do a perfect space model with the apartments, all the corridors, so that we can use it for simulations. For example, in Ida ice. Something was always going wrong. Emissions. Where to get the information of the CO2 emission. What's the data source? What does it cost? Who will pay for it? And if we had that all done, we would like to have also the life cycle evaluations. What's going to be the situation within 20 years? And of course, productivity. What is the usability of this building? Is it to be modified for some other purposes? So, all this that we have seen now is that what we have to think how to keep the work going, the development going, is that today we are in a situation that we must really, really focus on educating people. Of course, I'm a teacher, so it comes first always to me, but we should also educate smaller companies to go towards BIM. It's not a, like they said, someone said, it's not a rocket science. Let's go for it. You can do it. It's not that it's not simple in the first place, but once you learn it, it's quite effective work. We should also invest our time for the education, not just for ourselves, but also I challenge you as a companies and the construction companies to go and give your knowledge to the universities. We have done great work in Finland in that sector, and we will continue that as well. So it's really fruitful work. Then we need to standardize. We have to have the standard properties. We have to have the naming convention so that everybody knows if the inner wall is an inner wall or if it's the exterior wall. There is a difference, but we have to know how to market. And the designers. Also, like Skanska was having a great example of having instructions for designers, the BIM instructions. We should all have that. When your new project comes in, the first email should be that this is the concept and this is how it's done. That this is the requirement for it. And in Finland we have these common BIM instructions and we are updating and validating it up to date. But for the future, again, we have to have the common standards, not just only for the permitting, but how we work. And as one question was what the BIM is, for me, it's a building, it's an information, but it's a model of how we process things, how we cooperate together. It's more like a social model, way of working, not just a 3D, something more abstract, actually. If we have all these standards done thoroughly, carefully, we will go further to the machine-readable data, and that will push us forward to even more efficient production off-site. We are working already on a concrete element factories with the BIM. We are going for the wood elements as well. So what else? We can do so much more. We have to develop the CDE environment. That's just a fact. Openness, more fluent workflows. And what is required quite many times is that we have to have a common understanding. What is a hospital? What is a school? What is a kindergarten? Basic standards. And we shouldn't be so focused on what's mine. And I've been suggesting also that we should have a warehouse where we have these good examples, use cases, rules, all kinds of tools, how to share the knowledge that we have. Look, I have a brilliant idea. Let's try it. And like I earlier said, the possibility to have the official approval for the IFC as a format for archiving. We're expecting that on 2020. But this is what the digitalizing is concretely to me. I'm building my environment with the people around me. Thank you.